The Galactic Military Academy's training hall fell silent as Cadet Marcus Chen stepped into the combat simulator pod. Around him, 24 alien cadets from a dozen different worlds whispered and chittered among themselves, their various forms of laughter unmistakable across species barriers. Another human, Vrax, a towering Korthian with 4 arms and chitinous plating, rumbled to his companion. They always send the weakest species to prove something. His friend, a serpentine Srath named Veliskor, flickered her tongue in amusement. I give him 30 seconds, maybe 40 if he hides well. The simulation they were running wasn't designed for first-year cadets. It was a 4th-year final examination scenario called the Crucible, a merciless gauntlet that pitted a single combatant against waves of adaptive enemy AI in a constantly shifting environment. The average survival time was 4 minutes. The record completion time was 18 minutes, held by a decorated Korthian warrior prince. Most cadets never finished it at all. Marcus had volunteered specifically for this simulation. When asked why, he'd simply said, "I want to see what I'm working with." Instructor Kaelvor, a grizzled veteran with scales that bore the scars of 100 battles, watched from the observation deck. He'd trained humans before. Fragile things, comparatively. No natural armor, no venom, no enhanced sensory organs. Their homeworld was a death world by classification, sure, but that designation applied to nearly 40% of habitable planets. It didn't make them special. Simulation beginning in 3, 2, 1. The pod's interior dissolved into a war-torn cityscape. Crumbling buildings stretched toward an ash-gray sky. The distant sound of artillery echoed through empty streets. Marcus materialized with standard-issue armor and a plasma rifle, the same loadout every cadet received. Movement detected. "Multiple hostiles incoming," the simulation announced. The first wave hit fast. 6 combat drones materialized from the ruins, their weapons hot. The cadets in the observation room leaned forward, expecting the quick, brutal end they'd seen from weaker species before. Marcus didn't run. He didn't hide. He moved. His first 3 shots destroyed the drone's cover before they could use it. The next 2 eliminated the ones attempting to flank. The 6th drone managed to fire, but Marcus had already dropped and rolled, coming up with his rifle aimed at an angle that seemed impossible, shooting through a broken window to ricochet the bolt off a metal beam and into the drone's core. Elapsed time: 7 seconds. "Lucky," Vrax muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. The second wave spawned. 12 enemies this time, with adaptive shielding. Standard doctrine was to find cover and pick them off slowly, conserving ammunition and energy. Marcus sprinted directly toward them. "He's insane," someone gasped. But there was method in his madness. He was using the ruined environment like a 3-dimensional puzzle, calculating angles and trajectories in real time. A slide under cover, here. A leap over debris there, firing while in motion with accuracy that should have been impossible. He turned the enemy's numbers against them, positioning himself so they'd hit each other in crossfire. When his rifle overheated, he didn't pause. He grabbed a fallen enemy weapon mid-slide and continued firing without breaking stride. Elapsed time: 43 seconds. 24 kills. Instructor Kaelvor's scales rippled with surprise. The observation deck had gone quiet. Wave 3 spawned, armored units with heavy weapons. These required sustained fire to penetrate their defenses. Most cadets would need to set up defensive positions and coordinate overlapping fields of fire, if they had a team. Solo, it was nearly impossible. Marcus went vertical. He scaled a partially collapsed building with movements that spoke of a lifetime of climbing, parkour, endurance training. From elevation, he rained precise fire on weak points, joints, sensor arrays, ammunition feeds. When they tried to bring the building down, he was already moving to the next position, always 3 steps ahead of their targeting solutions. "How is he predicting their movements?" Veliskor whispered. Kaelvor knew. Pattern recognition. Humans were ambush predators on their evolutionary path. Persistence hunters who tracked prey for days. They saw patterns in chaos, they predicted behavior, they adapted. Elapsed time 2 minutes 18 seconds 47 kills. The simulation escalated beyond fourth-year parameters. It was adapting, trying to find his limit. Wave 4 introduced aerial units. Wave 5 added environmental hazards. Wave 6 was a single boss-level opponent, an AI that learned from every cadet who'd ever faced it. Marcus fought for 17 minutes straight. No breaks, no hesitation. When his ammunition ran dry, he used the environment. When his equipment failed, he improvised. He turned a collapsed wall into a trap. He used electrical fires as area denial weapons. He drew the boss unit into a building's foundation and brought the entire structure down on top of it. When the final enemy fell and the simulation dissolved, Marcus stood in the center of the pod, breathing hard but standing firm. Sweat dripped from his face. His armor was scorched and dented. The simulator's voice echoed through the observation deck. Scenario complete. Final statistics. Time: 17 minutes, 43 seconds. Kill count: 216. Efficiency rating: 100%. New record established. The silence stretched for 3 heartbeats before chaos erupted. Cadets of a dozen species surged forward, pressing against the observation glass, their earlier mockery forgotten. Vrax's forearms hung limp. 216? 100%. Velascor repeated, disbelief in every syllable. No failed kills, no wasted shots, perfect efficiency. Instructor Calvor watched Marcus exit the pod. The human's expression calm despite his exhaustion. The old veteran had seen many warriors from many worlds, but humans. Humans were something else. They weren't the strongest. They weren't the fastest. They didn't have natural weapons or armor, but they had something that couldn't be quantified in a species database. An absolute refusal to quit. The capacity to push beyond every reasonable limit. The ability to turn any environment into an advantage and any tool into a weapon. They were adaptable in ways that specialized species could never match. Cadet Chen, Calvor called out. Impressive performance. Marcus looked up at the observation deck, his expression modest. Thank you, sir, though I think the simulator might need recalibration. It was easier than expected. Easier. The observation deck erupted again, this time with nervous laughter and disbelieving chatter. The human had just shattered a 4-year record on a scenario designed to be nearly impossible, and he called it easy. As Marcus walked toward the locker rooms, Vrax turned to Velascor. Remind me never to underestimate a human again. Noted. This Wrath replied, her earlier amusement replaced with respect. Though I wonder, if that's what one human can do alone, what could they accomplish as a unit? Instructor Calvor heard the question and allowed himself a rare smile. That was exactly the question the Galactic Military Command was asking themselves. And based on what he just witnessed, the answer would reshape their understanding of warfare itself. After all, humans didn't come from a world that made them strong. They came from a world that made them survivors. And in the cold calculus of war, that made all the difference.